McCartney is dead, and he has been for the last 55 years. The legendary member of the Beatles, Paul McCartney, died in 1966 in a car accident. All this time, I thought I had seen him on shows like SNL and The Tonight Show. It was all a lie. I know it may sound unlikely, but I have the evidence to prove it. Paul McCartney died and received a one-way ticket to ride to the gates of heaven. I have read countless articles that prove his death, and I found them all on the internet, so I know that they are true. On a hard day's night, Paul McCartney was driving home on a long and winding road when he was decapitated from a car accident. For fear of losing some of their fans, the remaining band members decided to cover up Paul's death. Just as they had said goodbye to Paul McCartney, they said hello to lookalike William Campbell. It wasn't long after Paul's death that John started to feel guilty for keeping his friend's death a secret. With a little help from his friends, he began to drop hints for his fans to show that Paul was dead. One major piece of evidence was when you played the records backwards. You could hear him say, "Turn me on, dead man," and the more obvious, "Paul is dead." Another major piece of evidence was on the Abbey Road album cover. Paul is shown not wearing shoes, which symbolizes that he is dead and no longer needs them. Another major piece of evidence on the album cover was what all band members were wearing. They were wearing standard funeral attire. Ringo was wearing a suit like a funeral attendant or a pallbearer. George was dressed like a gravedigger, and John was dressed in all white to symbolize a heavenly being. And the last piece of evidence on the album cover was in the car behind them. The license plate had the characters IF28, which means that if Paul were alive that day, he would have been 28. Finally, Paul's doppelganger, after years after the breakup of the Beatles, began the band Wings. The title obviously alludes to the fact that Paul is dead. There are many people who believe that Paul is still alive and well today, and they have their own evidence to prove this. I will try to dispute some of their claims. I saw him on a live TV show recently. You actually saw Paul's doppelganger, William Campbell. How can he be just a lookalike when he looks and sounds exactly the same? He is a lookalike, but he had plastic surgery to finish the job. He also sounds the same because he does a very good impression of Paul McCartney, just as many people have played Kermit the Frog in the past. There is no evidence that supports a doppelganger. There is evidence that supports a doppelganger. Paul has a scar on his upper lip from the plastic surgery he received. The real Paul McCartney did not have that scar. Also, on the Abbey Road album cover, Paul holds a cigarette in his right hand. The real Paul McCartney was a left-handed person. Finally, I found evidence that disproves this on the internet. Well, you must remember that not everything you see on the internet is true. I have discussed how Paul McCartney actually died in 1966 and that there was a big cover-up to not show the fans that he had died. Yes, it is true that Paul McCartney is dead and he will lie in the strawberry fields forever.